change it in a nick of time. Even if you decide to leave the stars behind. You say one word, I say amazing. You say one word, I say amazing.
Alright. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. Please let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me. Hopefully I fixed it. Let me just test it out myself. Perfect. We are good to go. So yeah, today is not going to be a long stream. It's going to be pretty quick. I just felt like I needed to share this, and it was pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and get started. So we all know about these tunnels, right? Those of you who research the Millennial Reign or Tartaria, these tunnels are not a stranger to your knowledge, for the most of us at least. And even if you don't know about the Millennial Reign or anything like that, I think I heard about these tunnels before, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth as to what I found tonight. And before I go that in depth, I want to, show those who do not know too much about tunnel work. It is very dangerous. I have a brother-in-law who has worked mining and stuff like that, and he's been in a few tunnels, and he had told me how dangerous it is, and many people die from it. So here's a little history on that type of work. This is the waterworks tunnel disasters. It occurred 6 times during the construction of water intake tunnels for Cleveland water system, killing a total of 58 men between 1898 through 1916. Tunnels into Lake Erie were needed because by 1876, the increased sewage flow from the rapidly growing city had transformed its water supply into a health hazard. Waterworks tunnel disaster intakes built beyond the polluted shoreline yielded only temporary improvement. In 1896, a new 9-foot tunnel extended over 4 miles into the lake was begun in order to bring fresh water into a newly built pumping station at Kirkland Street, East 49th Street. 5 of the 6 disasters occurred as a result of its construction, 2 gas explosions in 1898 and 1 each in 1901 and 1902. Took the lives of 28 tunnel workers. On the 4th of August 1901, a fire was ignited by cinders from a boiler stack in a temporary crib built to house the workers. 5 men burned to death, 3 drowned trying to escape the crib, and 1 rescuer lost his life trying to reach workmen in the tunnels. 1 second, guys, sorry. So yeah, you should know that tunnel work is not a fun job. In fact, the Hawks Nest tunnel disaster happened in Somerville, Says here, throughout the years, West Virginia has suffered many tragedies that left hundreds of workers injured or dead. These tragedies are the result of disasters occurring in our coal mines, on our railroads, and at industrial facilities like the Hawks Nest Tunnel incident. This disaster became one of the worst industrial tragedies in the history of the United States. And this happened like around 1930. And the reason why it's one of the worst is because it took the life of over 700 men. So, I mean, one can say that that's not true, and maybe they need to check their facts or whatever, but that's what I got so far. Over 700 men died. And as I was doing more research, you know, knowing how dangerous this job is, you know, like, who wants to do that, you know? But as I was doing more research, I came across this article in the New York Post, and it says that this kid here, Freddie Goodall, this is a picture of him in the library of the home where he discovered the first passageways. So this kid here, I guess he discovered some secret passageways in this library right here. So this picture right here, see if I can get it. This is how it looks now. And of course, they got to indoctrinate you with this globe right here. But anyways, in this library, this is how it looks now. But this is how it looked in the 1800s. Right here. So very, you know, gildish. You know, it's very, you know, millennial reign-ish, if you would. Got that that look, you know, and they got rid of this look and made it look a whole lot different. You know, it looks, you know, if you will, modern, as we would say. But this is that room, and he discovered this tunnel here. And, you know, like I always say, you have to discern what is true, because oftentimes they will give this, they would, what would you say? They would put a face on it, right? Like they would, like this guy here. What's his name again? Freddie Goodall. So they made him the person to discover these secret tunnels. So there's a possibility that, you know, he's there for a reason, and he didn't just organically find these tunnels. But this is how it looks underneath. This is what he discovered. You got all this Freemason brick deep below this library, as you can see right here. If you can't see it, let me zoom in. You see that, all that Freemason brick right there. You got some ripped up books. Looks like this is it goes deeper. There's a staircase here. So yeah. And as I was searching more and more on these secret tunnels, came across this one here, the 10 secret cities hidden from prying eyes. And got some very interesting photos. So this is the Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the Manhattan Project, K-25 uranium enrichment plant. It is said that there are secret tunnels under here. This is one in Germany. I don't want to butcher that name. England, Burlington, England. Very, very interesting stonework here. You see this? It's like partially brick and part stone. It's as if someone came here and, you know, discovered all this and just decided to put their, you know, the typical red brick. And that one's in, this one's in Portland, Oregon. So not too far from me. This one is the Rock of Gibraltar. This one is the salt mines in Poland. Very interesting area here. They could have put this stuff here. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look original, because if you look to the left side, let me just zoom in. You see at the left that shows that it was like carved in. You see that? But then this other stuff here, it was put there. In my opinion. This is one in Canada, Chernobyl in Ukraine. And then this one is interesting too, Camp Greenland. This one here is Camp Century in Greenland. And it says here, it may sound like the plot of a 007 movie, but Project Iceworm was very real. The US Army aimed to build a nuclear missile launch site under Greenland's ice sheet, close enough to strike the Soviet Union with medium-range missiles. The plan was to bore a 2,500-mile-long tunnel system underneath the ice to test the premise. A covert Cold War project called Camp Century, launched in 1959. By the mid-1960s, the icy surface convinced the U.S. to abandon the project, despite the frosty conditions. Project Iceworm's 200 or so engineers enjoyed relatively warm hospitality, with accommodation in an underground city housing everything from a cinema to a barbershop. Camp Century even had a mascot, an Arctic Husky. That's pretty funny. They just had to add that, right? But these tunnels too. So it is said that they're the ones that constructed this in Greenland. I mean, they could have very well done the exterior, you know, like they made a door for it and all that. But as far as the tunnels go, I'm not too sure about that. And this is military. And speaking of military, I have to play this for you guys. So let me pause the music. This is in Vietnam, during the Vietnam War. And they are called the rat tunnels, or tunnel rat. So let me mute the music real quick.
During the Vietnam War, men in the U.S. Army that were below average height were often recruited into a special group known as tunnel commandos, or more often referred to as tunnel rats. The job of a tunnel rat was to climb head first into deep, dark, dangerous tunnels filled with enemy soldiers, traps, animals, and large insects that all wanted to kill you. And as you slowly crawled your way through the tunnels, your job was to eliminate any enemy soldiers and disarm any and all traps that you found, recover any useful intel you could find deep within the tunnels, and then plant C4 charges, make your way back out of the tunnel, and blow up the entire tunnel system so it couldn't be used again by the enemy. It was the worst job you could possibly have during the Vietnam War. And as you can imagine, the men who served as tunnel rats saw some incredibly disturbing things deep in those tunnels. But in today's story, we're going to be going over what is probably the most disturbing thing any tunnel rat ever had to see. Equipped with nothing but small handguns and some C4, two brave American tunnel rats made their way into the small, narrow entrance of a tunnel. Their objective was pretty routine: clear out the tunnel of any enemy forces, disarm any traps that may be hidden throughout the tunnel, gather some intel, plant the C4 charges, and then get out of the tunnel before the C4 detonates. However, this tunnel was very different from the tunnels they were used to doing. It was way, way tighter and narrower than any other tunnel they had ever been in, which typically meant that it was very recently dug out and a new tunnel the enemy had just made, which made it very likely that there would be enemy forces still inside the tunnel. But these two tunnel commandos were used to clearing out tunnels so big that they could actually stand up and hunch over and actually walk their way through the majority of the tunnel. But this one was so tight that they'd have to lay on their stomachs and crawl their way through the entire tunnel. This tunnel also smelled terribly, which usually meant either spoiled food was stored down there or some poor enemy soldier had died and been left to rot deep in the tunnel. After about 40 minutes of crawling in total darkness and silence, they were able to see a small opening into a room at the end of the tunnel. So the men readied their sidearms and climbed down into the open chamber, pointing their pistols and flashlights at the shadows. The room was dimly lit by a small oil lamp, but it was completely deserted. Not only was the tunnel completely empty of enemy soldiers, but there were no traps, and aside from a hanging lamp and a canvas tarp, the room was completely empty. So the men approached the tarp and used their pistols to slowly move it aside, revealing a stone staircase beneath it leading deeper down underground. And the men were immediately very confused. This stone staircase looked extremely old, way older than the tunnel appeared to be. And also it made no sense how the enemy soldiers managed to get this many stones deep into the tunnel.
Now, did you hear that? So it is said that these Vietnamese guys, soldiers, are the ones who constructed this, who did these tunnels. But then as the US soldiers, as the American soldiers got deeper, they came to realize that how in the world did these Vietnamese men construct stonework way deep under this tunnel? Doesn't make sense, right? And it's a lot older. See, let me rewind it.
Very confused. This stone stair underground. And the men were immediately very confused. This stone staircase looked extremely old, way older than the tunnel appeared to be. And also it made no sense how the enemy soldiers managed to get this many stones deep into the tunnel. But unfortunately, the men had to clear out the entire tunnels. That was their order. So they had...
See, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. If you want to watch it, the guy's channel name is Jeremiah. I'll put the link in Discord if you guys want to watch it, but I don't want to get any copyright. So, but yeah, here is a illustration of what it looked like in these Vietnam tunnels. And I'm not saying that they didn't build it, because some of them are very obvious that it was man who constructed this. But when, like I said, when the guy got deeper, when the American soldiers went deeper, they saw that, whoa, this is odd. This does not look like, someone could do this. It makes no sense. How is there stonework so deep within this tunnel? So that's something that makes you think, right? Was that during the Millennial reign? Did they discover these areas to build these tunnels? Did they go off of them? You know what I'm saying? Did they go off of the Millennial reign tunnels to construct what they had to do during that war, the Vietnam War? Anyways, that's basically all I wanted to say. Feel free to go ahead and check that video out. I'll share it in the Discord. But yeah, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, bell notification, and you guys all be safe out there. Be blessed. Until next time.
You say one word, I say amazing.